Hello, it's been a long time, but here we are. Today I will talk about all of the books that I've read this year that are dark academia-ish. So first I will start with just the short summary of the book, and then what I thought about the book, and then which elements of dark academia I think are in the book and why I think this book is dark academia. So let's just jump into the books. There's quite a lot of them. First on my list is The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. This is like Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson in the 14th century monastery, uncovering a most mysterious and convoluted crime you will ever read about. So Atso is our narrator and he takes us through the story. He also talks about this other monk, William, who is very smart, and he was invited to this monastery actually to uncover the crimes. This book is following a few days and every day a new crime occurs, so they have to really be quick in uncovering who is the murderer. And this is a monastery, right? Everyone is a monk there. There's some cooks and stuff, but like mostly monks. And every crime is revolving around this secret library. So it's really interesting, especially there's a lot of philosophical talk about theology, politics, religion versus state, you know, knowledge versus religion, these types of conversations. And it's also very interesting to see William, who is so intelligent. He really appreciates knowledge. It's interesting to see him, how he kind of connects his religion to the knowledge, and sometimes even he seeks knowledge even more than his belief in God. So why is this book dark academia? Well, if you're not still sold, just imagine the dark atmosphere of 14th century Italy, like of a monastery in the Middle Ages. Imagine knowledge worth killing over because someone is killing over some hidden knowledge in the library, and William, who appreciates knowledge so much, he's above intelligent person and he just wants to get to that piece of information that other monks are obviously killing about. And just imagine such a beautiful ode to knowledge and how important it is, but also dangerous sometimes. So yeah, I do think this is dark academia because libraries and knowledge and philosophy and theology and politics and every other conversation that you can hear about, you have it in this book. Next one on the list is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. So The Essex Serpent is set in the 19th century. It is about this young woman, Cora, whose abusive husband just dies. She moves to Essex to research the mythological Essex Serpent that no one knows if it really exists, but there's been like sightings and stuff. The book definitely has a touch of magical realism, which is very welcomed in this environment. But besides that, Cora is really obsessed with academia, with archaeology, fieldwork. She really wants to find the Essex Serpent. She really wants to write a paper about it and stuff like that. And she really is an academic, in my opinion. Not only that, we have other characters, other points of views, like this doctor whose genius is hidden behind his small dwarf figure, and we have this other guy whose name I forgot, who is like rich, doesn't know what to do with himself, but then he kind of gets political because his love interest is political. Not Cora, the other woman. And this other woman is Cora's helper and she's kind of secretly in love with her. So there's a lot of drama in this book, but the prose is so beautiful. It flows just like the clouds over Essex. It's just very beautiful. There are some boring moments in this book though, but the friendship between Cora and this priest she meets at Essex is just like that line from Wuthering Heights. Whatever our souls are made out of, his and mine are the same. So this is dark academia because it has Cora, who is obsessed with archaeology and with academia in general, and she's the type of person, well, a woman, and didn't have access to knowledge and to studies the same way the men did in that, you know, century. So I think it's really nice to appreciate knowledge in such a way that you go out of your way to get it. She wasn't handed the knowledge, she really wanted to like get more into archaeology. We also have this doctor who's in love with Cora, it's unrequited, and he's like such a genius. We see like these medicinal things of the 19th century, and he's kind of genius in this field. There's also talks of contemporary politics and, you know, economical problems, a touch of magical realism, really nicely done. So this is why I think this is dark academia, and if you like literary fiction, I think you should definitely give it a try. But if you don't like literary fiction, this is on the slower side, this book is. So if you're not like overjoyed by literary fiction, maybe skip this one. Okay, next book. Next book is the book that I had the biggest hangover after reading. I loved it so much. It was like 2,000 pages or so, I think. And I read it within, like, I read it really quickly, okay, with all of the studying I did. And it's Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, but by Eliezer Yudkowsky. I'm not sure if this is how you pronounce the name, but I think it is Eliezer Yudkowsky. Anyway, he's like this scientist, and he is researching rationality and stuff like that. And he decided to write Harry Potter, like the alternative universe where Harry Potter grew up under his scientist father. Petunia married like this scientist, and then Harry Potter just grew up in this environment when he had access to a lot of books and a lot of knowledge, and his father like taught him how to think rationally and think like a scientist, blah blah. And then he gets to Hogwarts, and there we see this young boy's mind, this young scientist's mind, looking at everything from this scientific point of view, and it is a blast. It is so fun, it is so adventurous, it is so funny, but also so dark. There's like a beautiful balance, and it's a really specific book, by the way. So if you don't like the first few chapters, you're probably not gonna like it. This is how the author explains it at the beginning, and I totally agree. But if you do like it, it's gonna be a blast. It's incredible. One of my favorite characters in this book was actually Voldemort. He's like Professor Quirrell, right? And this book actually covers only the first book of Harry Potter, and it's 2,000 pages, I know. There's a lot of things that happens that doesn't happen like in the normal Harry Potter, obviously. But the most beautiful thing is Professor Quirrell, who is such a human, you know, he really has a personality in this book. He really, I don't know, he's likable kind of, and he's like ironic and funny, you know, that dark humor type of funny. Besides that, why do I think this book is dark academia, besides being like the best? We have Harry Potter as a scientist, we have Hermione as a scientist, we have Draco as a scientist in Becoming, and yes, in this book the trio is not Ron, it's Draco and Hermione and Harry Potter. So beautiful, this is just everything I ever wanted. Besides that, there's a lot of talk of science. You can learn a lot of things from this book. You can learn real science, only in this adventurous fun way, by being in Hogwarts and following this Harry Potter, this kind of sociopathic Harry Potter around. Yeah, I definitely recommend this book to everyone. Just try it. If you don't like it, you don't have to read it, but like just try to read the first 20 chapters. The author is kind of saying like if you don't like the first 10, you won't like the book. I was on the first 10, I was like I wasn't sure, but in the 20th, like first 20, and I was like sold. Definitely recommend this book. Also, we have Hogwarts Library and Hogwarts like aesthetic. That's so dark academia. So I just want to say I forgot to show this book because I have it here. It's one of the few that I actually have, and I forgot to show it, and it's so beautiful. It's like this book is, it's great. Next up we have The Elements of Eloquence with Mark Forsyth. The Elements of Eloquence. I have it here, and it is a non-fiction, a first non-fiction on this list, and it's about how to write and how to write well. This book is kind of the fun theory of rhetoric, because it's about rhetoric. It's about how these well-known quotes are written the way they are. Why do they work? Why do we love them? It is really going into the science of writing and of the science of rhetoric. Actually, this is an old Greek science, right? An old Greek thing that we kind of forgot in this day and age, at least I did, when I was trying to write something. And having this like really break down how to write a sentence you know, for the science freaks and the other freaks, this is a great book. I think it's Dark Academia because it's a great reference book and the beginning to kind of science of rhetoric. I think it's, at the end, it has like a bibliography of real academic works on rhetoric. So if you want something to get you into rhetoric, I think this is a great start. I know some people like dislike those types of scientific books that are kind of for everyone. Me personally, I love knowledge being accessible to everyone. I am so for democratization of knowledge, and these books, even if you're not in like academia or academic circles, I think these books are really accessible to everyone and everyone can learn, although they are not like in the graduate school or whatever. And with such books you can really easily transition into academia, so to say. So I definitely think this is Dark Academia, and I definitely think if you want to understand Shakespeare more, for example, how and why he wrote the sentences or why he chose specific words in his works, this book will tell you. Next up we have 1984 by George Orwell. I also have this book somewhere in the other rooms and I can't open the door because I'm sitting in front of the door, so we're just gonna pretend I have the book. I wish I had every book so I can show it around. It doesn't matter. 1984, it's a classic, it's a referenced work in many other works. The Dark Academics. If you're an academic, you should read this book just for the sake of knowing and being a part of the conversations. You know, as I said, this book is very much referenced in a lot of other books. So if you want to get those books, you should read the original. Real quickly, the summary, it's about this Wilson guy who's in this futuristic society where you have this oppressive government and you can't even think bad about them because it's called thought crime and they can like spirit you away and you shall never be seen again, even if you think bad about this government. And what this government does is it takes away people's power by taking away their knowledge. So besides this being like a classic, it is definitely Dark Academia because it talks about how important knowledge really is and how important it is to stay critical, to stay critical, yes, to think critically about everything you encounter, especially in media and in the, you know, news, and how important it is to look at your sources. I'm kind of overreaching now, but I just think it's really important to get your facts from trusted sources, from scientific sources, rather than the news and the media. And the government who wants you to be pliable, if that's the word. I'll check later. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I love that now. Holly Jackson. Holly Jackson. It's like Hollywood 50s a star, and it doesn't matter. What matters is this is a young adult thriller. Pippa, she's the main character, and she's kind of very into academia. She's in school, she's in high school, but she decides to do for her project in school, she decides to research this old closed case of a teenager murdered in her town. They found the murderer, it was her boyfriend, and he killed himself, and now she's like thinking, maybe this isn't what happened. Of course it isn't, right? So this is primarily Dark Academia because someone on Tumblr said so. And also because Pippa is definitely a chaotic Dark Academia. She is a rational person, she really does use her head sometimes, and it's really refreshing in YA. So if you're someone who prefers YA, I think this is definitely a great Dark Academia read, just because Pippa is really smart and is really smart and she does research, right? She does research about this topic. She really goes beyond herself to do this research and to do her homework really well, which I think every academic can relate to that, so this is why this is Dark Academia. Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. It's a philosophical piece of literature. It basically follows around a guy who becomes Buddha. Now, this really quickly, it's also a classic. I think it's Dark Academia because we all like this Greek and Roman, like Marcus Aurelius, Aristotle, Plato. We all like these philosophers, but I think we should also focus more on the, you know, outside of Europe philosophies, like Buddhism. I think is really smart. I think it connects the spirituality and philosophy really well together, and I like the, you know, ideas it offers. So to widen your horizon, let's look at some other countries, right? So this is why I'm telling you or advising you to read Siddhartha if you haven't. I think it's a great conversation starter, and maybe it will get you interested into Buddhism. And now we have one book that's just made this year so much better because I read it and I love it, and I also made my username based on the book, and it is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. The Starless Sea. What can I say that I haven't already said? So right now I'm just gonna say real quickly that The Starless Sea is about this boy Zachary. He's in graduate school. He finds a book where some things from his life are written that no one was supposed to know, but this book has his life written in it. So he's like, what the fuck, what's that? And then he realizes that there's like this secret library where this book is from that needs saving, and there's this guy, his love interest, whose name is Dorian, from Picture of Dorian Gray, you know, based on that. We have a lot of references here, the writing, the magical realism. This book is also not about the plot, it is definitely about the characters and the writing, which is beautiful. It has many short stories within the book that kind of nicely connect to the main narrative. I think the main minus, you know, from what I've heard of other people, are that this book doesn't really have a plot. I agree, but I don't mind. This book is one of the best books that I've read this year, and I think it's dark academia because we have a graduate student, a graduate school student. He's stressed, he's an academic, he does research about this book that he found. There's library, a secret library, many other libraries that need saving. There's the secret society for libraries of libraries. There's this guy Dorian, who's also a love interest, but also his name is Dorian. There's a lot of things in this book that's to be enjoyed, and I'm just gonna stop and just tell you that this book is so dark academia. Like, the whole aesthetic is so freaking beautiful, and you should read it if you haven't. In the Woods by Tana French is an Ireland crime drama whose main character is an unlovable piece of shit, but we still follow him around. We still love following him around. I loved following him around. This book is such a great book. Tana French is definitely reminding me of Donna Tartt. I think like the writing styles are pretty similar. They're really intelligent, they're really deep, they go in depth, they really uncover those feelings, emotions that we think are so, you know, obvious. We're not really thinking about them, and then someone puts them on the page and you're like, wow, like I'm never thinking about this, but it's so true. It's so nice to put something that you can't by someone else to be put into words. This is what Tana French does. And of course this main character is like really like also from The Secret History, you know, Richard. He's like Richard. He's really unlikable, but we like to follow him around. We like to see him as a human being and just see what he will do because he's so himself. You can't really predict what he will do because he's so alive. And this whole like crime mystery side of it is also very interesting because he has to uncover or research this crime that's connected kind of with the crime that happened to him 20 years ago when he was a child, when he was a boy. He went into the woods, all of his friends disappeared, and he was found covered in blood. It's never been solved, and now 20 years later, another crime, another child, and it may be connected to the previous crimes. So it's really, really, you know, personal for him as well. What I am telling you before you begin my story is this. 2 things. I crave truth and I lie. This is how it begins, and I'm like falling in love all over again. I have to reread this book seriously. So yeah, why is this dark academia? Because the writing is like Donna Tartt's is really like intelligent and philosophical and really, really grabs your imagination, everything. Also we have this main character who is kind of philosophical, kind of really tragic, and a piece of shit as well. We have other characters, I don't really remember them. There's this main woman as well, she's really amazing, I like her. Her portrayal is really good. Not perfect, but really good. Besides that, we have this crime that needs to be uncovered, and I don't know why, just this mystery side of the book is really dark academia, and the whole kind of cloudy weather in Ireland in this book is all like very gothic kind of, so let's say like dark academia. I like this book and please read it. We have a few more books, so bear with me. Next up is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and I read this while I was an active member in a Discord dark academia group, and this is about Sylvia Plath and her fall into depression. I think it's really dark academic book because it's a classic, but also because it talks about this pressure and depression. When you have so many possibilities, so many things are happening, you can do so much because everything is being presented to you as a graduate student, as someone, a young person, yet you can't really feel anything. Everything is here, but you feel nothing. This is what this book is about, depression, right? You have so many things going on, yet it feels like there's nothing at all. You know, it doesn't really matter. And I think there's a lot of stress in the academic community, especially with studying, exams, blah blah. This book depicts depression really, really as a real thing. It does not romanticize it. Definitely read the trigger warnings before reading this book, but it was a really depressing read, but really an important one as well, so I would definitely include it on this list as dark academia, as well as essential literature to be read. Another nonfiction and another Orwell. It's Why I Write by George Orwell, and this really I have nothing to say about this book except it's dark academia because it offers the best writing advice I've ever read. It's really precise, it's really brief. George Orwell's writing is flowing through the pages, outside of the pages is beautiful, and as I said, the writing advice that I've read here helped me so much in writing my thesis and other essays that I have to write, and just in general life when I'm talking. It's basically saying how to be as brief as possible, to the point as possible, and how to evoke feelings in others that you want to be evoked. It's really smart book and a short read, and I do recommend it for every academic out there. Let's make our writing better. Tin Man by Sarah Winman. A tragedy. A love unloved. I don't know what that means. I want it to be mysterious and interesting. This book is trying to be mysterious and interesting, and it is succeeding. Tin Man is a tragedy, definitely. It's a short book. It's about this man who has this best friend who is in love with him, and he has this wife, and they love each other. It's not like unhappy marriage, but this trio is like three best friends. It's complicated because this friend is in love with this man, and this man loves his wife but also loves his friend, and then the wife and the friend die, and we hear this man's life through flashbacks and through just narration, a really depressing one. This book is also depressing, just like The Bell Jar. I think it's dark academia though, because we have this miserable love story, which is basically dark academia, right? We have a guy falling in love for a guy. We have friendship, just beautiful friendship. We also have a lot of art and kind of artistic writing as well. The prose is really beautiful, and it's a really different type of read, different book. If you liked Call Me By Your Name, I think you will like Tin Man. If you didn't like Call Me By Your Name, you will like Tin Man. Tin Man is for everyone. And finally, Claude Atlas by David Mitchell. I'm currently reading this, and this is the book that inspired this video basically. While I was reading it, I was thinking, wow, this is such a dark academia book. It is so literary, so witty, and smart and funny, which witty basically means. And I was thinking I have to talk about this book, so voila, I don't speak French. This genius composer, young, frolicky, he lives at this old composer's house. He's helping him compose, although this guy's blind and stuff, so he's helping him to compose, blah blah. It's a tragic story because this old composer is basically stealing this young composer's ideas, blah blah. We see his life through letters to his lover back in Britain, and then the stories of every character in this book kind of connect through these letters, old letters, or half torn out pages of a diary, stuff like that. Every narrative ends up in medias res, so how it ended up is clued in the next chapter of the next person, like some 20, 50, 100 years later. A lot of people, every person gets some kind of like 50 pages or so of chapters, and we see their life, and it starts in medias res and it ends in medias res. That's it. I love this book, and you should read it. Maybe, I don't know, I haven't still finished, like, but it's Claude Atlas. Well, we've reached the end now. Subscribe to my channel and go read a book. Adieu!